Hello, I'm Matt Gillard, bringing you this week's news on early childhood issues from the state capitol. Thank you for joining us and tuning in to this week's edition of Capitol Corner. Well, things are starting to heat up here in Lansing, or at least they were this week. The big news this week was we got the first glimpse of what the legislature may be considering doing as it comes to school aid funding. Monday evening, Senator Walker, who chairs the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on School Aid, released a draft proposal of what he's looking at as far as the school aid funding bill for next year. Critical to early childhood issues in that proposal was some concerning things. First and foremost, that I'll lead with. First and foremost, Senator Walker's proposal would eliminate funding for Great Start collaboratives and Great Start parent coalitions. This is $6 million that is in the budget for the current year. That was also proposed to be maintained in the budget in Governor Snyder's budget proposal, but Senator Walker would eliminate that funding. This is obviously a huge concern for those of us who advocate for early childhood issues. We know the work that the collaboratives and the parent coalitions are doing in local communities in bringing together the resources that are there to meet the needs of families of young children is critical for us to build long-term success and to really build a comprehensive system of early childhood supports and services for Michigan. So that's a huge concern for us, and we'll be working actively to try to get legislators to understand the critical importance of this funding. Senator Walker's proposal also did increase funding for the Great Start Readiness Program, which is something that we obviously all support as advocates of early childhood. I myself personally worked very hard in the legislature to continue to increase funding for the Great Start Readiness Program, but to do it at the expense of other early childhood programs, we certainly wouldn't advocate for and wouldn't support. The majority of Senator Walker's proposal centered around the idea of only giving school districts a half foundation allowance for offering half-day kindergarten programs. This is a controversial issue that comes up seemingly every year. Right now, Michigan school districts, our K-12 districts, are awarded a full foundation allowance even for children that are in half-day kindergarten programs. This is obviously controversial to the local school districts. There were hearings in both the Senate and the House subcommittees this week on this topic. We saw many local school superintendents come and testify in opposition to this proposal, to this idea of only giving them a half foundation for a half-day kindergarten program. What's important to note, however, is the research clearly indicates that full-day kindergarten programs are more successful for the students, especially in closing the achievement gap that we see between students when they enter school. And so, it's full-day kindergarten programs in general are supported by the early childhood community and by early childhood advocates and by the ECIC. Whether or not this is the right approach to get there, I think, is a valid debate, but we certainly encourage anybody and everybody to pursue full-day kindergarten programs in their local school districts. Senator Walker's proposal takes a savings from that program. He estimates we could save up to $245 million by only offering half foundation for half-day kindergarten programs, and dumps most of that money back into the foundation allowance, so that the overall cut, which if you remember from Governor Snyder's proposal, was $470 per pupil. Under Senator Walker's proposal, it would be closer to $290 per pupil. And so, that's appealing to some school districts, but at the same time, it's the same overall amount of money. He also reduces or eliminates many other categorical fundings throughout the school aid bill to knock that per pupil cut down. There was a hearing, as I said, in Senator Walker's committee this week. He ran out of time to get the testimony from even half of he received testimony from probably less than half of the people who wanted to provide it. The legislature is set to go on break now for a spring break for the next 2 weeks. So that hearing is set to resume on April 13th. So nothing will be voted out or happening before then. But this is something that we certainly will continue to watch and keep updated on. The House is yet to introduce their plan or their proposal on school aid funding, but we expect that to be coming shortly after the spring break here as well. In other news, the Senate Republican caucus continues to meet behind closed doors to try to come to some agreement on an overall budget plan. They are really wrestling with this idea of the pension tax that the governor has proposed and are looking for alternatives to raise similar amounts of revenue so that they don't have to greatly increase the number of cuts that the governor had as his proposal. But they have not been able to reach agreement on that yet. There are some indications as to where they're heading. It looks like they may be proposing a slightly higher business tax than what the governor has to make up some of that revenues, but details of that proposal have not yet come out. Once again, thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. We'll certainly do our best to keep you updated on all the early childhood issues that are developing here at the state capitol. Thanks.